So I'm testing out the live stream, wondering how this is all going to work out. Huh. No, I've never done a live stream, so we'll see how this works out. I don't even know how long I'm going to stick around for this, but I would like to start doing live streams, especially for like KDE settings and that. But we'll have to play it by ear to see how it works out. Come on, Ivan, you're not going to miss Unity? Well, it's all good. Because, like I said, I don't know how long I'm just testing the waters out. I set it up in OBS. And, like I said, we'll see how it works out. I don't know. I don't like this task manager. I just don't. I can't get used to that. So, we'll just have to get rid of it. Do any of you guys run KDE? Come on, Paul. You don't run KDE? No, you don't run KDE. You run, what, Mate and Solus or what? I don't like this menu either. Gotta add a new menu. Uh-oh. Message coming in. Incoming. You are, Garth, or I am? No, this is an Antergos KDE. Let's see here. This is probably my best menu here. The only thing is I noticed that it gives you a smaller icon than the regular application launcher. I'm not sure why. It's the only menu that does that. Don't really care for that. There's always that one bug, you know? No, Garth, it's not proper art. Yeah, what are you going to do? Hey, look, I am probably going to be going away from Arch. I've actually downloaded Ubuntu Mate, and I'm going to try to install that as my main driver. Well, I got to say, Paul, that Antergos is way better than Manjaro in my experience. Not that Manjaro is not any good, but I've always had issues with Manjaro, whether it comes down to installing it or whether it comes down to using it. I mean, to be honest with you, I was able to get the XFCE version installed, but I was not able to get the KDE version. So, what blew up on you, Garth? Your install? Oh, you downloaded Mate, and it's okay. I got you. Yeah, now see, I downloaded Mate and I put it on a secondary drive and I ran it and it ran perfect for me. The only bug that I found so far is the fact that when I reboot, it takes a long time to shut down. Other than that, it ran pretty stable and looking pretty good too. Anyway, this is my favorite KDE menu, I think. It's got tons of settings. Let's see here. Now, I guess it's not going to come up with the super key, but See, if you have the super key enabled for this, you can, let's see here. Yeah. You can, yeah, it's still not. You probably got to log in and log out for it. You can actually set the settings beforehand. Set them while you're in here with this window open. But I think I'm going to go with that. And search box, yeah, we're going to take the white out of there. And I guess we'll get it a different color, huh? See, now this is where that would come in handy if you had the super key enabled, so you could have it open and still get that color. You want to get the gray that it's there. I usually click this and pick a screen color and then open it with the super key and get that grayed out color from the screen itself, from right around here somewhere, which takes the color of the background here. There we go. There. See, now we can change the color of it to something we like. Yeah, that works. Yeah, but you're using plain arts, right? Well, the car backgrounds, they usually what happens is they're usually up against something that's generic, like this landscape. So that's why I gravitate towards them, because the nature and landscape backgrounds, they kind of tend to be busy sometimes, and although they're pretty nice, they get so busy that it's a little bit much. So I don't want a plain background, but I tend to gravitate towards a background that has something in it, but yet still not too busy. All right, so what other options we got with the menus here? Now, see, I have a problem with the simple menu, which I actually like. And I actually like the simple menu, but what happens is you're not seeing it, but it actually opens up on the secondary monitor, which is not cool. Oh, I did. I do like Mate or Latte. It's what happened was when I record videos, and we just got done recording the Destination Linux episodes. So I shut that off because at one time I was getting screen tearing from it. So I don't know if it's that way now anymore, but I shut it off and I just haven't turned it back on yet. But like I said, the simple menu is great, but you don't even see it opening up because it opens up. It always opens up on the secondary monitor, which is weird. Yeah, we can actually get rid of this panel. As a matter of fact, now that you say that. So there is my latte look. And I still think it looks way better. I mean, it's completely transparent. It's kind of got that elementary OS look. Well, I don't, Paul, the regular standard default applications menu, are you talking about the application menu or the application launcher? Because the launcher, to me, it's an okay menu, but it's not, I don't like the fact that you got to back out of where you are. I actually, if I had to choose between the default ones, I would either go the full screen menu or the actual application menu that just pops out. Yeah, That's definitely a decent menu there. But I do got the tiled menu there is my launcher. And see, this is something that Latte does. It has the justify option. So anything in between here is going to be justified in the middle of the screen. And I don't have to put spacers in, and I don't have to mess around and get it exactly on point and everything else. It just goes in the middle of the screen. But it's got all kinds of settings, and it's like integrated directly into Plasma, so you can add any launchers onto it. You can add any widget to it. You can show the panel background. You don't show the panel background. It's just got so much stuff you can do, and you can export this configuration and then upload it somewhere so other people can use it. Yeah, I guess you could say that, Garth. So, yeah. So this is my latte looking plank. Yeah. That's my KDE Connect. I should probably turn that off for this. So I don't continually get messages. The whisker menu is very nice, I gotta say. It's very nice. Very customizable, can do a lot with it. And, to be honest with you, there is no perfect menu out there. None of them have the perfect menu. I know you guys probably don't like it, but I actually like the GNOME full screen launcher. That's what I like. The KDE launcher, I don't know. It just, hopefully it doesn't give any screen tearing here. But the KDE launcher, it should be where you have your favorites over here, and you have your applications right in the center. The favorites should be right in the center, if you ask me. There should be an option over here on the right to start this in your favorites, and they should be right here. Why I got to go over here to get to my favorites is another whole story. So, I don't know. It just seems to be... it's a nice menu. But if you ask me, they should flip this, where the favorites and the logout should be in the center. That way you're looking right at it. Well, he's not a big fan of GNOME, Paul. I don't know. He definitely is not a big GNOME fan. And now I can't see. This is what gets me upset about KDE. It's so great and so customizable, and yet this is why I have a love-hate relationship with it. Like, why am I not able to? Because it's under Latte, but it's Latte works as a regular panel, so why wouldn't I be able to actually close that right now? So, So then we got to go into Latte settings, and then we got to hit quit. Get rid of that, close that, and then start Latte again. How ridiculous is that? Absolutely ridiculous. All right. Garth, are you a GNOME fan? I take it you're not. You don't put me in the type of mind of a GNOME fan. Okay, so anyway, like I said, this is the full screen launcher should definitely have something in the center of it, as that's what makes it not the best menu. Otherwise, it would probably be the best menu out there. But I don't know. Yeah, that's what I feel about KDE, Garth. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Well, GNOME is pretty much unusable without the extensions enabled. Once you have the extensions enabled, then it's actually a pretty good desktop environment. But without them, I want to see what Ubuntu does with GNOME as far as what extensions are they going to enable by default, if any, and how are they going to update those extensions as far as, which ones are going to make it into the cut as being enabled, and how they're going to improve those extensions in between now and then to maybe work better. CLI over GNOME. That's a little extreme, Paul. Little extreme. It ain't that bad, man. No, I actually tried Unity for the first time in a long time and installed it the other day and did a video on it, and it's still sitting on the hard drive because it was the day before all this Unity news came out. So it kind of doesn't make any sense to do a Unity review after they've announced that it's just not going to be there anymore. Oh, well. All right, so what are we going to do here? I guess we'll dive into some settings. What do you think? So this is my a theme right now. And it's not on Breeze, actually. It's supposed to be on, I actually changed it up a little bit. I have the Glassified theme on, which looks beautiful in my opinion. And let's see, colors, I'm running Windows 10 default colors. I just was playing around. I actually like the Windows 10 close buttons just because of the size of them. They're easy to hit. I don't have to worry about it because a lot of the themes are really small on the decorations. I mean, you can make them bigger, but they don't always resize the right way. So, I mean, I could use the arc transparent, but they don't always resize the right way. They don't always go in the center of where they're supposed to be. I think this one does, actually. Yeah, it does. It goes in the center, but it doesn't go with the white colors. I'd have to pick a different color theme. Yeah, I definitely like a transparent panel. It's me. What's going on? Yeah, I do like a transparent panel, Garth. It's definitely something that makes it gives it that polished look. No, I don't think so, man. I don't think that. There's a lot of people that know a lot about KDE. Problem is nobody actually uploads videos about it. That's why I started the channel, because there was a lot of people that used KDE, but there was not a lot of information that was up to date. Like you can do a Google search on anything on KDE and you'll find tons of stuff on it, but it's probably back in KDE 4 or years ago. And that's why I started the channel, because there wasn't a whole lot of KDE info out there that was relevant. I have to say that when I used Unity the other day, it was actually I was surprised that it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be this terrible thing that, well, okay, I always make fun of it. Like on Destination Linux, I'll make fun of it, but, that's because it's the easy target. So, but there's okay, I'll give you guys this is what I always complain about with the settings on KDE. Like, KDE's awesome, but now if I want to switch my sound output, I have to come up here and I have to right click and go into audio volume settings. And I got to click on audio volume, and it didn't do it right there, but there's a bug. When you click this audio volume, it actually drops down the menu. And then I have to click on configuration. And then as you see, I got a couple audio outputs here, and I'm not going to change them because I might mess the stream up. But then I have to drop down this menu and click off because this is my speakers here. If I want to switch from one to the other, I got to turn this one off and turn this one on in order to change sound. Where in GNOME, especially with the sound switcher extension, all I got to do is drop down the menu and click it, and it changes instantly. Now, they are working on that for 5.10. You know, they're supposedly working on the whole sound applet and being able to change outputs, you know, easily. But right now, it's just such a pain to change outputs. And I change outputs often because of the recording. And, you know, like sometimes of the day, I'll want to watch a YouTube video, and I'll have it on the speakers. And then other times I'll need it to be through my headphones. And then if I'm recording, I need it to go through a different one. And so I'm constantly changing. And it's just a pain to change. The Plasma phone seems to be awesome. I mean, it is exactly what you would want in a phone. It looks great. It would obviously integrate with the desktop, but I just don't see it as. I mean, if anybody can do it, KDE can do it. But you know, you have Microsoft tried it. You have Canonical obviously tried it and is going away from it. I just don't see with the landscape the way it is. I mean, Canonical, one of the biggest companies out there in Linux. You know, if they can't do it, does KDE even have a chance in doing it? Well, I'll have to get a hold of you there, Garth, because I actually have Neon installed on one of my other drives, so I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I love the fact of Plasma doing it, but it's just a. It's just a shame because, like I said, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It seems to me that it's, you know, at some point, just like Ubuntu did, they looked at their resources and they looked at the fact, I mean, I think the article states that they were a $3.3 million lost last year, which obviously they had to do something to change that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that the phone part of it was the problem, but it definitely had an issue with paying all that money. Well, and that's the sad part about it is then how much of a chance does Plasma 5 or Plasma phone have in breaking into the market? I just don't see it happening. It's a great dream to have, and KDE and Plasma in general have always done some visionary things, but I just don't see it. In the long term, I just don't see it happening. So, again, like I said, the sound switching is one problem that I have with KDE. There's all kinds of different little minor things with KDE that I love it. And yet it just sometimes doesn't exactly work the way it's supposed to. And it's frustrating at times, I gotta say. So the icons that we're using are they look kind of like a Windows-esque icons. But there's so many good icon sets out there. But you gotta go with, like, I change them all the time. So ultra flat, mint green. No, we're not going green. I'm not a green guy. Even though I think Ubuntu Mate's new dark theme is really good right now. I was actually running it and left it on the green theme on my other drive. So these are okay, but man, that's really blue, man. It's really blue. That's all I'm saying. iOS are okay. Actually, the Capitan icon theme is actually pretty good. Oh, you know what? I don't think I'm going to get... That's one thing that I'm not quite understanding. Garth, do you have any insight onto... There are times where you can download an icon set or a widget through the system settings, and then they don't even appear. and you almost have to install it through the AUR through Paymac to get it actually installed. Like, you can't install Latte from the system settings by adding it, but you can install it through the AUR. Or, I'm sorry, through Paymac. So I'm not sure exactly what the deal is there, but because I'm not a super experienced Arch user. Yeah, there are. They've already talked about forking a Unity forks and stuff. So I don't think it's going to die. I just don't think it's gonna just end up being a outside flavor, kind of like GNOME was, where you got a development team that's going to work on it, but it's not going to have the resources that it had. So they may have to drop certain things because they don't have the time or resources to continue working on the way they did before. So, well, I think it may fizzle out as far as like the big news and stuff like that, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll have its opportunity to last as long as people want it, and I think there's definitely enough people out there that want to continue using it. Although there was a poll, and let's see here. There was a poll, and about Unity, and where was it? There it is. And if you come down here, how are you feeling about it? Positive, in between, negative, indifferent. So if you vote, and I'm just going to vote in between because that's where I am. Kind of mixture of feelings because there's so many unanswered questions about it. But this is the voting as of right now. 8,000 votes, over 8,000. 36% are positive, happy, optimistic, and 32% are in between. 23% are negative, and 8% are indifferent and don't care. So, I don't know. Like I said, I think there's definitely enough people out there that want to continue using Unity. Not that that's a all-ending poll, but it's just a sample. But it is a sample from people who use Linux. I mean, if you're reading OMG Ubuntu, you definitely are, I would say you're most likely using Linux, so it's definitely a good indicator. Maybe not the end all to the polls, but it's definitely a good indicator. All right. Back to my desktop effects. Now, I don't know what you guys use for desktop effects, but I really don't use a whole lot. I use the blur. What I do use is the blur the background. This here blurs the background behind the transparent windows because I want to be able to read it. So now this classified theme makes it dark behind here. But if you have a completely transparent theme and you go to open a regular menu, it's going to be completely transparent. And if you have any kind of wording or anything that's busy behind it, you're not going to be able to read what's behind there. So it's definitely something that I use all the time. But other than that, I mean, I don't use many of the window animations or anything like that. I mean, they're there. It's great that they're there, but it just doesn't. I just go without it. It's not a big deal to me. Now, I don't know about you, but I tried using screen edges, and I'm telling you, like, they're great for the first 10 minutes. The idea of having them and the idea of putting something there that you can change to, like, I had the present all windows for a hot corner, and it was great for the first 10 minutes, and then it just got to be so annoying because I kept hitting it, when I didn't really want to hit it. And I know you can do the activation delay, and you can actually change them, which is a good thing, but a lot of times when you change them, they don't animate right then. So the animation itself going in and out gets all goofed up. So you have to have them at a certain delay, otherwise it doesn't always work great. And I have it on 2 desktops only because I was trying out the pager, but I don't normally run 2 desktops. I don't know about you guys if you use the virtual desktops or activities, however, which way you want to call them. Well, like I said, I mean, I think it's a great concept, Paul, but it's just, it seems to me that it's a good concept, but in reality, it doesn't really work in the end because, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to work. Accessibility options, activities, and I've never really got a hold of activities. Like, I just never got into them. Nobody could ever explain to me or convince me that this was a good thing. Like, man, you got to use this because this is what it does and this is what it helps. I just never understood the whole activities thing. So, all right, what do we got? Kwin and XFCE. Yep. I remember what it was at Spatry's distro ran that, and it actually, I liked it when I had it installed it. You mean not useful? Is that what you're talking about, Garth? Well, Eric, the top left screen in GNOME is a little bit different because for me, I run a panel and I know that I have, I can put a launcher anywhere I want, but in the way I use KDE, I always have the launcher up here, and I know that you can do, the super key, but I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I'm using a different desktop environment, I tend to use it in the way that it's best functional in that environment. So if I'm using KDE, I usually use the mouse more often than I would in GNOME. I'm usually a more keyboard-centered user. But with KDE, I tend to use the mouse more, so I end up putting my menu up here. And like I said, the hot corners don't work well when you're expecting to, say, go to your menu and they just pop up. Where in GNOME, you don't really have that problem because, well, I don't have that problem because I usually enable extensions that move the launcher somewhere else, whether it be at the bottom or whether it be on the left-hand side, not all the way at the very top. And I usually use the super key to open the GNOME menu. So I use it differently. And for GNOME and the activity view in GNOME, it works fine. But for KDE and the way I use it, it really doesn't work that well. None of the hot corners work that well. Well, there's a whole thing about virtual desktops and activities and stuff, but I just, like I said, I never got into them. William, you say you could use separate widgets, but I just, like I said, I have everything right in front of me. As I get older, I can multitask less effectively as I used to. So I kind of need everything all in front of me rather than have it separated into different departments or different desktops. So I just never really got into virtual desktops or activities. Well, KDE or GNOME? Huh. Well, I mean, if you gave me, a gun to my head and said which one is you can only have one, it would have to be KDE. There's no question about it. GNOME runs a nice close-up second to that because with the extensions, man, it's, and that's what happened when I tried GNOME. When I first tried GNOME, I had really never gave it a shot. But then when I tried it and I enabled extensions, man, it just works. And that's what drew me to it. It's simple. There's not this huge amount of settings where, I mean, you can set it enough, but there's not an overwhelming amount of settings, and they're not hard to get to. So it's like, man, you got the tweak tool, and you can change whatever you need to in there. You can change enough to make it useful, to make it work great, but it's not overpowering. And so GNOME runs a close second. That's what I can say. Now, like with these settings, you got a ton of stuff you can do. But in order to find some of this stuff, I mean, you got to, and even for me, I have to go in and say, where was that setting at again? Because like it's deep in here. I mean, it's deep. That's all I can say. So, I don't know. Some of these settings are really good, and some of these need to be worked on. I really think they need to work on the actual look of the system settings too, because all of this white space over here just doesn't. I mean, you can have it. I mean, what? Okay, I set my settings to go to a certain length, like say here. But what happens is when you go into certain settings, then, and let me see if I can find one. Like when you lower it so much, some of the settings tend to get cut out and you can't see them anymore. Like here, this is an example of what I'm talking about. So if you lower the box, you can't see these settings over here. And to me, this whole idea of having to have all this white space over here just to be able to, when I go into a certain item, to have to be able to see that, it's ridiculous. It should not be that way. It should be that I can maneuver this box any size that I want, and no matter which menu I go in, I should be able to see every setting. It should just auto resize to whatever it's supposed to be. Well, was KDE my first Linux desktop environment? Well, that depends on what you mean by first. The first Linux distro I ever installed was Ubuntu with I guess it was the Wubby installer, WBI. I installed it alongside of my Windows installation at the time, and I booted into it, and it was really different and cool all at the same time. But all of my files were over on the Windows installation, and this was my first time on Linux, so I had no idea what to do or how to get my files over to this drive or that. So it was like I got to the desktop and it was really cool. I opened a web browser, I opened the file manager, and then I closed everything. I'm sitting there looking at the desktop. Okay, now what? What am I going to do now? Because all of my files are over on the Windows installation, and so that was my first experience. So I then booted back into Windows, removed the Linux partition, and moved on. And then a couple months later, I started trying out other distros, and I landed, I think, with Linux Mint or Kubuntu, one of them, and I can't remember. It's been such a long time. But it was like KDE 3.5. So yes, KDE was my first distro that I stayed with. So yeah. All right, so where was I? Yeah, just me ranting. I'm sorry, but KDE Wallet is the first thing that I disable when I install KDE, because it just seems so worthless. I don't know. I mean, it just I don't understand the point of it. It's always asking me for the password. It's just, and it's not able to fill any website information in there. I mean, you're not going to use it with Chrome or anything like that, or Firefox. So it's like, what's the point? If it's only for me to log in, I'm already logged in. I mean, what is the point of it? So, well, I don't know. Everyone ends up at Arch in the end. Well, look, Arch is great if you have the time to research everything and do it the right way. If you're in a busy life and you just need to someday sit down and have your computer work, it may cause problems after a while. I mean, you guys heard about the bug in obviously in Arch that doesn't allow you to install or doesn't allow you to reboot once you've installed an update through the GUI package manager. Well, fortunately, I mean, other people have had horror stories with it, but fortunately, I did not have that problem. I was able to update, and it just had no problems and no issues, and that was great. But other people have, and that is the key point to Arch, where situations like that come up every so often, and if it's me and that happened to me, I probably would switch away from Arch because, I mean, I don't have time to reinstall my system. David, what's going on, man? I don't have time to reinstall my system all the time. I don't have time to research. Like if this bug pops up, I don't have time to research that right now. I got, videos that I got to reply to. I got a certain amount of time when I get home from work that, I got to do this. I got to reply to these videos. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then I'm done. And, I don't have the hour that I need to research this bug or this problem. So, Arch can be really good. But when it goes bad, then you need to have the time to research it. And sometimes that's not always possible. So now I've been running an Antergos KDE and I have not had a huge problem in anything. There are minor problems with this install, like just minor glitches here and there. And I think some of it has to do with being implemented on Arch, because the same issue is not present in, say, KDE Neon. But like the way it appears sometimes or the way the settings show up, they're not, and I don't remember off the top of my head over the past month or two that I've been running it, but there are once in a while where there are times where it just does not come out right. So, but there have been no major problems with it either. So that's a good thing. Well, like I said about Manjaro, I don't know. I was unable to get Manjaro KDE installed. I tried and tried and tried, and it just it would not install. I had issues even with the black screen trying to boot off of it using the non-free drivers. I got to the Calamares was continually crashing. I downloaded the Fuss installer and I tried using that, and that crashed as well. There were 2 or 3 times that I did get Calamares to start, and it got to whatever, I don't know how many percent, and just kept having the same error over and over again. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm having these issues, I can't be the only one having these issues. Now, I know that it may be, hardware configuration related. So that may be the issue, okay? A specific configuration with my hardware, with the installer or something like that. But either way, if I'm trying to install this distro, I can't, no lie, if I combined all the time that I tried installing Manjaro, I'm going to say that it was almost a whole day in how many times I tried to install Manjaro and failed. And it just shouldn't be that hard, especially for something that's been out as long as Manjaro has been. So it definitely, it should be better than that. That's all I'm saying. Well, you know what? And that's why I talked about Ubuntu Mate for the, you don't even, stability-wise, Mate is pretty good. You don't even need to be on the LTS Mate to have it be stable. Even the 1610 version may have not been as feature rich with the theming and the consistency all the way around, but as far as stability, 1610 was very good. So the grocery getter. That's funny. Okay, Joe. I just went from Peppermint 7 to Ubuntu Mate 16.04, and these which trashed the OS. Whoa. See now, that's it's it's funny how that always seems to happen. That one person can install the same system, and obviously it has something to do with the operating system and the configuration of the hardware, like I said. But it just seems that it's funny how one person can install, say, Ubuntu Mate and it runs perfect, and the next person can install it and it just doesn't. And it's a shame. Hello, Frank. What's going on? So I have Peppermint 7 on a USB stick, and I actually installed it. But I don't know exactly. I remember what happened. I have a hard drive partitioned into 4 different ones. And when I was doing my Manjaro fail for installing, I ended up mistakenly overwriting the Peppermint 7 that I had, because I needed to try it on a separate partition to make sure it wasn't an error on the drive in that partition. So it's that's where it went. My GPU is a GTX 960 at the moment. So Gampa, what's going on, man? All right, so I don't remember where I was in settings because I got busy talking, and when I get busy talking, I forget about where I was. So, not that we need to go through every connection here, but so the question is, do you guys use a VPN? Because with all the privacy issues going around and everything, I have private internet access that I use, and I'm not on it right at the moment, but that is the the VPN of choice for me. Has been for a couple years now. And, like I said, with everything going on, and with ISPs and everything being able to sell your information, no matter where you go, it's pretty much their way of. So, okay, so you use Opera, Garth. So what about, but that doesn't cover like when the operating system does updates and everything. So, I don't think it covers like messaging chats or anything like that. So, I definitely suggest using a VPN, because even though there's some that are built into the browsers, it doesn't cover your whole connection. It only covers the browser part of it. So that's just my personal opinion. 3 monitors, Joe. Well, yeah, look, distros have trouble with dual monitors still. That's still not perfected. Even in KDE, there's not one distro that I have used that has perfected dual monitors as of yet. Not KDE, not GNOME. GNOME, I think, was probably the better out of all of them as far as not having things show up on the wrong monitor. But I'll tell you what, like XFCE continually showed up on the wrong monitor. And you would change, I guess you would have to go into the Xconfig to tell it which monitor was the primary monitor, whatever. But no matter what I did with the display settings or the panel to put it on, like for example, in XFCE, I installed, it was actually OB Revenge that I installed. So and that runs a combination of OpenBox and XFCE. So when I would, even though I told it I wanted the main monitor to be the primary monitor, when I would hit the power options to shut down the computer, they would always end up split between the dual screens, which just about drove me nuts. And and again, if you have the time to go and research it and fix it and everything else, that's great. But when you're just checking something out, and I'm checking this OB Revenge to look at and do a review on, those are the things that cause you to say, you know what, I gotta, I'll do this later, or not do it at all. So, all right, what do we got? You run 3 monitors as well, Dave. All right. Well, So you don't have any issues with KDE? See you, Garth. David, you don't have any issues with KDE as far as dual monitors are concerned for it showing up on different monitors, or did you already put into place settings that took care of it? You know, it's funny because people talk about the Tor browser, and I guess that is a good layer of security for the normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill issue as far as privacy is concerned. But that's not a fix-all either, because we had talked about on the Destination Linux podcast about the Vault 7 and the files and everything else, and I made the statement that if they have all of this stuff to track everybody, they're not going to allow these other things out there to circumvent that. Their reach is unbelievable. And it seems to me that it would be really stupid of them to say, well, we're able to track you unless you use Tor. And then then you're completely invisible and we can't track you. Just seems to me there has to be more to that story, and I'm under the impression that they pretty much got either a backdoor or some way of finding out in any system, even in VPNs. And that goes back to what I said, David, where one operating system can be great for somebody, and then you'll put it on different hardware and it'll be completely different. I always have issues. Now, I have less issues now with Plasma 5.8.4 or 9.4, I mean, with the dual monitors. But I also have to come in here and check the settings to set it to follow the active mouse or follow the active window. So, and that doesn't always even work either. So it depends on which program is running, or there are times where it will show up on the other screen. And it may be program specific, but like I said earlier with the simple menu, I love the simple menu as a menu, but I can't use it on KDE because it always shows up on the other monitor. No matter where I put it on the panel, it's always going to show up in the other screen, and it just drives me nuts. So it's unusable. So, but like I said, I love the full screen menu idea, and that's why I gravitated towards liking GNOME, because of the full screen menu. I just think this needs to be reworked here. Got to have the favorites in this stuff over in the center. Got to have an option at least to put them in the center. You may not need to do it by default, but we're using a desktop that has options for everything, and you're telling me you can't put options into this thing? I mean, when this thing was home run years ago on KDE4, you could set every detail, everything. And you could just set anything you wanted and move them anywhere you wanted. And then when it pretty much died and got ported over to Plasma 5, it lost all the settings capability that it had. And that's very frustrating. So yes, that clock is really centered, brother. But that's only because of Latte Dock there. Only because of the justify option here. And I'm going to get rid of the, well, you know what? I'm going to get rid of that. Only because of the justify option, which should be default in KDE. You're telling me you can't put this option in the KDE panel. Now, Latte Dock runs all of its settings. All of it comes from and works over top of the actual panels themselves. So anything you can do with the panel, you can do with Latte Dock. And you're telling me you can't put this in the regular KDE panel as an option? Sheesh. So yeah, so anything you put in the center of this is going to be centered by default, without no fuss or muss. You don't have to add spacers. You don't have to add nothing. Yes, I'm technically cheating. Wait, the other day we were talking in the Telegram group, and I said, "How do I find the exact center of the screen?" And everybody's like, "Okay, well." So this one guy makes a picture. Alan, he made a picture of a white screen with a black line directly in the center and sent it to me, and it was great, except for the fact that when you do it with the panel, it's centered, and you can put it directly in the center until you hit the lock widgets, and then it moves over to the right. It was driving me nuts. Yeah, the Latte Dock is really good. It really is. It does not have justification, David, that I know of. Not for specific not for specific items. Unless you know of a setting that I don't know. Maybe there is. Hold on, let's look. Uh, let's see here. All right, so left, center, and right panel alignment. And no, I'm not seeing no justification. Nope. Nope, not seeing it. And I'm going to just remove this and go back to Latte because I actually want to open Latte settings up and it does. I will say that Latte takes a second or two to open up. Even when you boot up, it takes a second to open up when you get to the desktop. Yeah, when you go into the Latte settings, let's see. So you got the behavior, you got the top. You can justify, which is this option here, or you can center it. But I like the justify option. The appearance, you can change the size of the applets. Man, why is that unhighlighted? There. So you change the applet size. You can't change specific applet sizes, but you can change the whole applet size. And as far as resizing the clock, no, you can't. You can't like drag it open anymore or but you can set it for visibility options, auto hide, which is better. And each panel has its own settings, so these settings are completely different than this settings, and you can have as many docks as you'd like in Latte. Well, I don't see Plank. Plank usually starts up pretty fast, and Plank has always been my go-to dock, and that's what this is here. Because when I started here, I was using the KDE panel. But Plank usually just starts right up for me anyway. But Latte does take a second or two to actually start up. So you can do the animations, you can show the background, and you can do the length of it as well. You can change the length of it so it's just a dock. But what happens is I just leave it there and leave it transparent. That way you don't even see it. That way this can be enlarged to as much as it's needed for the open applications that I have. And it can just continually grow if I have more applications open. So you can use different colors for the maximized windows. You can do an indicator for the active window group. You can reverse the lines on there, so these dots are now on the top rather than on the bottom. You can do, which I have the preview on over the window hover. Now you can't see it in here, but so you can see the preview just like you can on a regular panel. Now that option is not set by default, but you can, like I said, set it in here. And you can have multiple instances running. And I have it set to blur for the panel background. Shrink the thickness of the margins to minimum. It just basically puts it down further, but it works fine without that. I don't know why that's even a necessary item, but Add launchers only in the corresponding area. Now this is new, one of the new options in the new version, that you basically, when it started out, you could add launchers anywhere, whether it was in the Latte Plasmoid or out here. But what happens is, if you change the icon size, then the animations are no longer smooth if you've pinned an application outside of this Latte Plasmoid. You've pinned it out here, and then you lower the pixels to 48. The animations are no longer smooth. And that has to do with the fact that it recognizes these launchers differently than it recognizes this one. So the recommendation was to leave everything at 64 pixels, but people didn't want to do that. So what they did was they added this setting and turned it off by default. So now when you try to drag applications down here, they're only going to be able to be dropped right into the Latte Plasmoid, which allows it to be smooth animations all the way through, no matter what size you have. But if you wanted a shortcut outside of it, you would check this option, and then you could drop it out here. So that's what that option's for. And then you can import your configuration or export your configuration. So you could, and you can have different sessions too. So let's see here. Where are we at? Alternative session. So you can have two instances or two styles of Latte Dock. You can have one style for this, and then set up a completely different style with the launchers over here, and everything else set up completely different, and switch between them. So depending on which one you want to use at the time, you can switch to it. So the reason that I use Latte Dock, okay, and the KDE panels are perfectly fine for normal use, okay? But there's one or two things that stand out with Latte Dock, one of them being the justify option. That should be in KDE panels by default. And the other thing is, with Plank, you can't add launchers. You can't add widgets to them, where in Latte Dock, you can add widgets to them. You can add any widget that you can add to a panel, you can add to Latte Dock. So it makes sense to use Latte Dock as the dock instead of Plank. And then once you're using Latte Dock as the dock, you might as well use it as your main panel as well, and just use that one because it works the same as the KDE panel. So that's the reasons that I use it, because it just makes sense. If I'm going to use it as the dock, I might as well use it as the panel too. Yes, you could have a different dock on every virtual desktop, yes. And it does work with, dual screen, dual monitors and stuff. You can have a dock on the other monitor as well. And the only issue that I've had with Latte Dock is the fact that it does call screen tearing at certain times when I'm recording videos. So when I started this live stream, I had the KDE panel and I have Plank open. And somebody had asked me why, if I like Latte Dock so much, why would I run, why am I not running Latte Dock right now? Well, I was recording for Destination Linux and I shut off Latte Dock just to make sure there was no screen tearing, because it has tendency, well, okay. I was getting screen tearing, and the only difference that I had running was Latte Dock, so I turned it off to make sure. So I ended up going back to the KDE panel for a couple minutes and using the Plank dock, and that's why it's still there. I could probably get rid of this now. So, yeah, there it is. All right, so what do we got here? That's a good question, David. I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. I don't want to say it is for 100% sure. I think it is. I don't know. Is it a Qt application? I'm not exactly sure. I believe it is, but don't quote me on that. Still using cinnamon, huh? You know, when a while back, I had used cinnamon, and at times it was great, and at times it was very frustrating. And I think the frustrating part came in with the fact that the spices, the applets, whatever you want to call them, they weren't kept up to date, and they weren't kept up with the cinnamon version. And they were really something that you needed, something that made the desktop better. So you would constantly be trying to use something, and it would crash either that or it would crash the whole desktop. And that's why I switched away from it. I am not a fan of the cinnamon menu at all. And I probably never will be. I know some people like it, but I'm not. So I would always have to rely on an applet to change into a different menu. And a lot of times with the updates, the applet wouldn't be updated, and it would be just a disaster. So I ended up switching away from cinnamon. Although when I was running, like I started on KD obviously, and then I switched over to other things. But cinnamon had a good amount of settings, and you can customize it pretty nice. So it works well. It works well out of the box. But once you start messing with it and adding the applets, that's when it starts to get hairy. And to me, you almost need those applets. Certain ones anyway. And like I said, specifically the menus, because I don't like the regular menu. So, well, I guess it depends on which distro you use as far as whether it's sluggish or not. There have been distributions that I booted into Apricity OS and used the cinnamon version, and it was really, really sluggish. And Apricity was always good for me in other, I guess it's the GNOME environment. So I don't know what happened there, but it depends on which distro you have as far as cinnamon is concerned, whether it's going to be sluggish or not. Well, like I said, I was not a GNOME fan, but I got used to the GNOME full screen launcher there for the couple weeks that I was running it, and it's one of the things I miss about GNOME is that full screen launcher. But everybody's different, So it is a Qt app. Okay, Qt app, whatever you want to call it. Yes, I know you will, David. What are you running? Oh, you're running Clean Arch. Okay. Yeah, Clean Arch. So did you install it from scratch, or did you use an installer? One of these days, me and David are going to install Arch together, and I'm gonna do an Arch install one of these days, but not today's not that day. It's just like I said, it's great if you have the time, but if you don't, it's not the greatest. All right, where were we in settings? Oh my gosh, I keep getting sidetracked here. See, I can't talk and go through settings at the same time. I get so I can't do two things. My multitasking skills have gone down drastically. Which installer did you use? Because actually the OB Revenge installer, the generic installer that he has, Jody James, his installer works pretty well. And right before I went back to Antergos, I installed actually it was GNOME, I think, through the installer, and it went perfect. And I was on a GNOME desktop, but I had one issue where something was duplicating in the home directory where it said I was out of space, even though I wasn't out of space. So I had ended up having to reformat, but. Well, I guess there is no real point in doing it, Eric, manually, except for the purpose of doing it manually, to say that you did it to learn how to do things the manual way. That's really the benefit from doing it manually. Otherwise, no, there really isn't. I mean, once you know how to do it manually, there's no benefit to doing it manually, I guess. Unless you like to configure everything exactly the way you want it. I mean, there's really no point in it. It's the whole learning process that's the key. I'm just not there yet. Antergos has a, I don't know if I have the ISO. I don't know if I have the ISO in here or not. No, I don't. Antergos has their own installer, and it offers you the option to install any of the desktop environments that they include, from Mate to KDE, Gnome, Mate, Mate, XFCE, even plain. It gives you the option, and then once you pick the desktop environment, you also have a screen where you can choose whether it checkboxes to enable AUR, to install Firefox, or install this program, a Flash player. So they customized the installer pretty much. They've made it easy to install Arch. Let's put it that way. Yes, David, exactly. You know exactly how it's configured. You just have to have the time to learn that of how it's configured, because that's not just a 5-minute job, man. That's a detailed process, and if you're not willing to commit the time, or if you can't commit the time, it's really not even worth starting. You have to be able to commit that time, otherwise you're not going to accomplish what you set out to do, which is to learn. So, Joe, there was Martin has a PPA, and I'm pretty sure, I am pretty sure that let's see here. I was actually listening to Bad Voltage podcast right before I started this. I think Martin has a PPA for the burst menu that works in 1604. No. Okay. Maybe not. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'll post a link to this. You can try it out. How's that? So yeah, it is able to be installed on the older versions. So you can install using the Antergos installer, and you just do a plain one. Huh? I never really even thought about that. How you doing, Al? What's going on? Yeah, well, GUI, the GUI installers. I don't know. I just, like I said, if you're into learning how to make things work, manually is the way to go. But if you don't have the time, you almost have to use a GUI. So, but a lot of the videos out there, a lot of the tutorials have not been updated, so that you'll get to a spot where, like, you're thinking you're doing an easy tutorial, but then when you get to a spot that comes up with some question or error that they're not experiencing in the tutorial, you're pretty much lost if you don't know what you're doing. So the best way to do it is the Arch Wiki, but the Arch Wiki is pretty detailed, and like I said, you got to have the time to do that. So you got to have the time to learn. So when you use an installer, can you install a desktop environment but have it not load and just boot to the terminal and then run a system, for example? I have no idea. None, David. I don't have that knowledge. I'd be asking you that question. Yeah, well, and that's what installing Arch is all about, ain't it? I mean, it's about learning. So, yeah, you should learn to format manually. And, it's funny because I use a lot of GUIs and stuff, and I've used a lot of programs to burn ISOs. to USB, but I started using DD just because I wanted to make sure, like it actually started out with Manjaro, my Manjaro woes of installing that, and man, I tried the installers, and I had to rule out every possible problem of why I couldn't get this installed. So one of those was to make sure it was written right, and I used DD to write it. And now, by doing that a couple times, I learned how to, do it, and now I can do it without using a GUI program, and that's probably something that I will continue to do through the command line. Other things are different, it depends on what it is. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you got the tutorials out there. There's tons. If you just search for something on whether it's YouTube or Google, you're gonna find tons of tutorials out there, but they just aren't updated. And that's what happened the first time I tried to install Arch. I was watching this tutorial, and the guy was going through it, and it was like awesome. I mean, he just went through bing, 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 and I was following along with him, and I was all good. And then I got to this error message that he didn't have, and I was like, well, I have no idea. At that time, I had no idea what I was doing. So it was like, I'm stuck. And the Arch Wiki at that time was Greek. I mean, it's still probably Greek to me. But what I'm saying is it was Greek to me. So it's like, I don't know how to get around this error that I'm experiencing, that this guy didn't experience. So the tutorials are not always the way to go. If you're going to install Arch and you're not going to use a GUI, then you need to use the Arch Wiki. That's the best way to do it. Learn Linux TV. I don't know if I seen that channel or not. Now, let me ask you that, Al. Are there issues, like you say, learn it in a VM? Are there issues that I would encounter that I would find in real hardware that I wouldn't find in a virtual machine because something may be conflicting with my hardware configuration? I mean, is that a possibility where I would do it in a virtual machine, get used to it, and then go to try it on real hardware, and then it not work the way it's supposed to? Oh, I know Jay. Okay, yeah, learn Linux TV. Okay, yeah, now I got it. Yeah, I know Jay. Okay. Again, I got lost in my settings. I should play a video for you guys so it's not so boring to see while I'm busy chatting, or I could actually turn on my camera. I guess I could do that. Well, that's pretty boring too, I'm just saying, but there. How's that? Is that better? Let me move this over here. Yes, I'm looking at the other screen. It's not letting me move that. All right, I'm going to move this over here. How's that? And I'm going to move this over here, and my fancy dancy background that means nothing. I'll put that there. And I'm going to actually move the comment box over here so I can actually see it and not have to be turned that way because my neck is killing me. And anyway, yeah, I just didn't recognize it by the Learn Linux TV. Oh, it's not, Jay? Hold on. All right, now you're going to make me search it. Darn it. Now you're going to make me search it. All right. Okay, so I got a question for you guys. Okay, this has been driving me insane. And I love using KDE, but this really drives me insane. Where are my title bars? Where did they go? There has to be a setting somewhere in KDE that they're lost when you maximize, but I can't seem to locate it. I looked the other day and I couldn't find it. I know it's there somewhere, but when I maximize my window, I lose my title bar, my close. And it is not in the application style window decorations anywhere. So I don't know exactly where the setting is, and when I go down to my window border that I'm using, there is no, even when I click on the options, there's no setting to change that. So this is killing me. It's absolutely killing me. All right, so where am I at here? Learn Linux TV, right? Right? Yeah. There it is. Jay, the Linux guy. Yeah. Yep, I just watched his video today about the, and I actually got to sit down and watch these, but I actually watched the video on fixing the annoying Wi-Fi resume bug, and he offers a basically a script that fixes it. So that was a pretty good video. When I dragged the window, did I drag the window? Ooh, 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 ooh. So yeah, got my wobbly windows. But like I said, when I maximize it, I lose my title bars. And I know there's a setting somewhere. I mean, there used to be a setting somewhere. I just can't. I'm either not remembering or what, because there's so many settings. But it drives me nuts that I got to actually grab the window then. Now you can hit Control M, and it will unmaximize the window. But I don't want to have to hit Control Alt M I mean, it should just maximize to the actual panel, and not all the way up. I'm not sure. Yeah, I like the wobbly windows. I don't like them so much. Like some guys have the wobbly windows and they just wonk all over the screen. That's not for me. But I like a little bit of wiggle in the window, kind of so I know I'm dragging it. Not that I don't know I'm dragging it, but you know. What do you mean? 10 other people using KDE. You're a KDE hater. You're a KDE hater, aren't you, Al? Chrome settings. I don't know of a Chrome setting that would affect that. Except for, I think I have it set to use the operating system. The window borders instead of the actual Chrome window borders. Yeah, sensitive. You're just a hater, man. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, yeah. If anybody finds that, let me know, because it's, like I said, it's driving me nuts. Where did they go? They're gone. Okay, enough whining about that. Let's see here. And I actually unpaired my phone, but because I was getting too many messages through on the live stream here. But no, it doesn't always happen. It happens in every, Eric. It happens in every application. So when I do this, see, it's gone. It's got to be a KDE setting. I just don't. Me asking where the KDE settings are. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I guess it could be the panel. But I don't know. Let's see here. Let's see if there is any options in that area. Oop, I'm changing the length of it now. Scrolling my mouse. Show alternative session. I don't see any option in Latte to allow for it to go behind the panel or anything. Okay, let's switch back to the default panel. So we'll close Latte out. Add our default panel. And move it up to the top. And yeah, it does it with the default panel. That's what I thought. I didn't want to say it did, but because I couldn't, I'm wrong half the time, but it does it with all of them. I'm kidding. Wait, should I type that in my terminal, Al? Is that a terminal command? Do I need to use sudo with that? But anyway, yeah, it happens with the regular plasma panel too. I don't think Latte would pick up any settings that you have with the panel. Like Windows can go below, Windows can cover. It should be on always visible, so you shouldn't have to set those settings. I'm still missing my justify option here. Still missing that. Still missing. Gone. It's not there. But yeah. Alt F3 shows the window options. Well, let's try it. Yeah, but even if it's full screen, I lose the title bars. Somewhere along the line, there's a setting that when you maximize it, you remove the title bars. And, you can come in here to more actions and special application settings, which you can remove that. Like, let's see here. Where is it? No title bar and frame. You can set it to have no title bar and frame, but nothing is set for that. And surely while it's not maximized, so regardless of whether it's on Windows can cover or always visible, it's a setting somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it's an Antergos setting somewhere that I'm not finding. But like I said, I've searched through these settings over and over again, especially under, like here and stuff. And unless I'm missing it somewhere, I just don't see. I just don't see where it would be. Hide utilities for inactive applications. Switch to automatic group windows. Yeah, like I said, I just don't see where. This is where the active screen follows mouse type thing for the dual monitors. If you're having issues with it, this must be checked. Otherwise, you'll have the Windows opening on the wrong monitor every time. Let's see. Whoop. Where did they go? Where did they go? No. Let's see. Under applications, it's just the designer. I don't know if I have that installed. Do I? Oh well. No time to install it right at the moment. Style sheets, huh? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get that advanced. Because, well, like I said, I pretty much made the decision that I'm going to switch over to Ubuntu Mate for a little bit, especially with this new release. And because, like I said, especially with, the more and more we go deeper into like Destination Linux and me recording videos and stuff, I can't really take the chance of coming home and rebooting my machine and, having a black screen and can't get booted into it. And, Arch has that scenario to it that there could be a problem someday, and it just happened, before. It didn't happen to me, but I can't take that chance that that would happen on, say, like we did a interview with Martin Wimpress on last Friday, and I can't imagine me coming home, turn on my computer as I'm ready to do an interview with Martin Wimpress, and my screen goes black or I can't boot into it. So, no, it actually affected Antergos as well. It didn't affect me because I don't know why it didn't affect me, but there were reports out there that it did affect Antergos users as well. So, like I said, and it's not that that's a, oh my gosh, that's a earth-shattering problem, and I'm never going to use Arch again. It's just that that's the normal. That's the way things can happen in Arch, where that's a possibility. And like I said, I need to make sure, especially going deeper with everything, I need to make sure my computer's up and running. I can't take the chance that it's not. Ski, what's going on? What's happening? Where's the earth-shattering kaboom? I don't know. Well, like I said, there's nothing wrong with Antergos has been really good to me as far as there have been no major problems with it. There have been minor tiny display issues and stuff like that, but that was more because I think due to Plasma 5 and Arch, rather than, like, I didn't have the same issue with KDE Neon that I had with Plasma 5 on Arch, and nothing was earth shattering, but it was just little things here and there. So, but overall, Antergos has been really good. If I was going to run Arch, continually run Arch, it would be Antergos because, surely I'm not going to run a Arch-based distro like Manjaro that seems to always have issues, and I can't even get installed on my computer. So Antergos is the way to go, in my opinion, if you're not willing to spend the time to learn how to do it manually. Well, David, that's a key skill that I am not able to do as of yet. So, well, actually, with the Ubuntu Mate, the software boutique, it has made it so much easier to set up a system. I installed Ubuntu Mate on my dad's computer, and not only was the install fast, but then I opened up Software Boutique, I clicked a few applications, installed them with basically a one-click install, and I had the system up, and it was the fastest time that I've ever spent setting up a system. It just went that smooth. So the Software Boutique makes it really good. Eric, I would love to have Brian Lunduke on Destination Linux. I know there's strong opinions on both sides of whether you like him or don't like him, but you can't deny that he's a key figure in the Linux community. So I would definitely love to have him on. I haven't tried to contact him yet to have him on, but yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility in the future. Which are you still, Joe? Are you talking about the 1604 version of Mate? Ow, you don't know about Destination Linux, dude? Come on, man. Come on. There you go. So that's me and Rob do Destination Linux podcast, and it's a podcast we do weekly. And we started out doing news and reviews and app picks and all this stuff, and lately we've been concentrating mostly on interviews. And we've had Ike Doherty from Solus on. We've had a couple different people. We've had some YouTubers on. We've had AJ Rizik on. Next week we're gonna have. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you that, so I won't. I think next week is going to be Jody James from OB Revenge, and this week we had Martin Wimpress on from Mate, so it's definitely been fun. So we've been concentrating more on the interview part of it than the news show part of it, and it's been working out. And it's also in a podcast form, so if you just want to listen to it, you can listen to it in the podcast player on the way to work or something, which is what I do. Yep. So it's been fun, and some of these interviews have gone an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like Ike's interview was 2 hours, over 2 hours, I think. Martin's was like an hour and 45 minutes. But these guys have so much knowledge, and they have so much, so much to say about everything that it makes it easy. I mean, what it is they're down to earth, and they talk to you like they don't talk to you like you're nobody or you're just another guy. They talk to you like they would be talking to anybody. They're really down to earth, and that's what makes it great. Lamer, what's going on? Well, Joe, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to contact Brian and see if he would come on the show. I actually talked to Alan Pope tonight on Telegram, and he said that he would be interested in coming on sometime. So hopefully we can do that at some point. And Ike was an awesome interview. I mean, he makes it. It was so he's got that knack of being a. He's got a lot to say, a lot of technical information, but he also throws in the joking manner, and it makes it for a fun interview. Well, Ski, I mean, this is my first one, and I didn't know what to expect from it. I have no idea how it's going to work out. So hopefully I can start to schedule live streams. That would be my goal, and to set it, to say this is what we'll talk about or whatever. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes, because I mean, I just have fun talking about it. So I mean, I know it's not really exciting to do live streams where you're just looking at a chat window and listening to me blabber on, but like I said, at some point I'd like to do like settings and everything else, KDE, Mate, that kind of thing. So no, I don't know that you can pop the chat out. That would be awesome if I could pop the chat out. So how can I pop the chat out? I can't drag it. Okay, well, if you can tell me how to... Oh, there you go. Pop out chat. Look at that. Wow. That's awesome. So I can get rid of this. See, you learn something new every day, dude. Thanks, Lamer. I appreciate that. Yeah, David Martin and Popey and Ike, they're always on Jupiter Broadcasting. I can't wait to hear the new show from Chris and Joe Resington for the Linux news show that they're going to do, because I really love Late Night Linux with Joe, and I think he has a great perspective, and he's a really good host. So I can't wait to see exactly how they're going to do it, but I think it's great. Yeah, the 3 dots, baby. Okay, well, so what's the best way to set this up so we don't get in the way of each other? All right, maybe I will put this over here, but then that will, yeah, so you guys are going to have to bear with me until I figure out what's the best way to do this, or the best way to set it up. Really, for me, it should be in the center of the window so that I'm actually looking at it So I'm looking at the camera rather than looking to the right or left. But hey, yeah, I agree. Joe is awesome. And you know what, David? He was really instrumental in helping set up the destinationlinux.org website. And what he did was, when we started out the podcast, we started out with just uploading to SoundCloud. And then SoundCloud, you were only allowed to upload like 2 episodes, and then it would only allow you to upload another one, and then your other ones would just start dropping off. Well, we wanted our episodes to be available no matter what. We wanted them to be available a month from now if you wanted to go back and listen to them. And so we ended up making a quick decision to switch over to Podomatic, which is a service for podcasts that, it's easier to post your material, and they have it set up to where you can post free, but then the more listeners you get, the more you have to pay and everything. And it was working out fine, but the website was generic, and it looked like it was a not so technical company. It was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't for us. So I got to talking to Joe, and I said to him, I'd want to get a proper website with a proper RSS feed, but I'm so sick of switching. I want to do it the right way the first time. So I don't want to continually switch and have everybody have to keep switching. So we talked about all of the options, and basically he created a website for us, and he allows us to post up the episodes on it. We have basically whatever storage we need, and we can post whatever we want. So, and like I said, he was really instrumental in creating all that and making it work. So, something that I appreciate. I think he's pretty awesome myself. Ike is a legend, Ski. He is. He's definitely a legend. And I don't know if you guys heard, but today or yesterday they announced that their Solus in the next ISO image is going to have a GNOME edition along with Mate and Budgie. So I guess Joshua Strobel is going to head the GNOME part of it. And they're going to have 3 flavors in the Solus family now instead of just Mate and Budgie. So I don't know exactly what that means for Qt. And Budgie still switching over to Qt. I think, David, I think the server that we're on with him, I think we're on his server, and he has it through DigitalOcean. I have another blog separate from tech, and I have had, web hosting for that. So I'm familiar with posting in WordPress and all that stuff and plugins and everything, but I'm not familiar with actually setting up a server. So I would have loved to go on with DigitalOcean, just DigitalOcean, and have complete control of the server, but I'm not an expert at setting up the server. So it just made more sense at the time to have us go on his server and, him basically take care of it. Reduce the window and set the chat on the side of it. What window are we talking about we'd reduce in here? Yeah, let's see here. Where was it? Yeah. So it was not only on Solus's Patreon page, but it was on Softpedia as well. So you have this one here. And let me put the link in there so you guys can read it. So they're going to offer the GNOME edition. So it'll take, I think it says 2 weeks before they actually get the GNOME edition. And it doesn't look like, it says it's going to be vanilla GNOME. It's not going to have a whole lot of extensions installed. So, I don't know. I think Solus does a great job at integrating everything, and I think that at some point they'll make it look pretty darn good. Now, I actually had Solus installed on. I actually have it installed on another drive and with Budgie, but I actually installed GNOME Desktop on top of it. So when I boot into it, I'm usually booting into the GNOME desktop environment with Solus. So, but it should happen in the coming weeks that they'll have the GNOME environment. And then there's also this page on the Google Plus page that talks about clarifying some things in that article. So the article has most of the details, but so Budgie 10 is tightly based on GNOME. So it's not going to be a big deal. According to him, it's going to be like 20 minutes to create a different separate ISO. Other than that, it's not going to be any more work on Ike himself. So it won't take away from the Budgie development or anything. So all right. Host post URLs can wait. Oh, that's not fair. The host can post URLs, but the user, yeah. No, I don't think so. I'm like I said, I'm new to this, so I can put you in user timeout. So I don't. Yeah, no, I don't know if users can do that or not. I'm new to this whole live thing here, so you'll have to forgive me for that. Okay, so let's see. By the way, Unity is not dead, just fork. Think about it. Never said Unity was done. Also, I'm not a Unity fan. Saying, yeah, you know, there's going to be forks of Unity. That's just the way it is. Whoa. Ow. Look, Ski. I love KDE and I hate KDE. It's all the same. I mean, I love things about it and I hate things about it. So, it's a great desktop environment. And then the next minute, it's driving me insane, ready to pull my hair out. So, all right. Did you guys see the poll for OMG Ubuntu? Or did we talk about? I think we talked about that earlier. About Unity and people actually are pretty positive about the change. So we could probably do a news live, and just talk about what's in the Linux news too. So I don't know what you guys are interested in as far as whether it would be talking about the desktop environment, setting up the desktop, or like I said, I could do a live stream on just bringing up news and what you think about it. So yeah, I guess you're right, Joe. There is no perfect environment. No matter even as nice as Ubuntu Mate is in this new release, it's not perfect. And I don't think you're going to find a perfect one. Like, for example, if it was me, and one of the things that I like or enjoy is having a bigger menu, a full screen menu or a larger menu, whether it be like Unity. Unity was, and I hadn't used Unity in a long time, so I was actually pretty pleased in seeing Unity and the way the dashboard integrated with the curves and everything, and it did like a 3/4 screen or half screen or whatever. So I enjoy using a bigger menu, and that's one thing that Ubuntu Mate doesn't have. So, but like I said, there's a give and take no matter which distro, no matter which operating system, no matter which desktop environment, you're going to have a give and take either way. One way or another, there's going to be give and takes with it. So let's see. Well, I think I'll try Plasma and Budgie first before I go to GNOME, so I don't really care about Ubuntu's desktop environment. Well, I don't think we have to care about specifically their desktop environment, but I mean, Ubuntu is the big player in Linux, and basically they set the trends. And whatever they start doing is going to benefit everybody down the road. So it's like you have Ubuntu adopting GNOME now. Well, all the things that may have been wrong with GNOME on the back end, like you had Solus and Ike who talked about switching away from GNOME, or the GNOME stack, I should say, GTK, and moving over to Qt. And all of the problems that he encountered while trying to code around GNOME or GTK. And so when Ubuntu it gets integrated into that, they're going to make changes. They're going to make it better because they have the resources to do that. And everything that they make better is just going to flow down the line to everybody else, including Solus, including Mate, because Mate is very similar in code to GNOME. So a lot of the underlying code from Mate is the same or similar, so similar that whatever benefits that Ubuntu can bring to GNOME will also flow down to Mate. So I think we may not care specifically in relation to what desktop environment Ubuntu chooses, like if they chose GNOME, so we don't care about that, but we should care about the idea of them fixing things and doing things better and bettering the desktop. So yeah, I think that's definitely something. That's pretty good, Eric. There are only two kinds of desktops: the one people complain about and the one nobody uses. Yep, that's pretty much it. Because there's always going to be complaints. Well, we haven't brought up Windows yet. And Joe, I have to say that I dual boot Windows just for the gaming aspect of it. And, I don't use Windows for anything other than that. But I will boot into Windows to play a game. I mean, like Battlefield 1 is never going to come to Linux. It's just the way it is. Maybe down the road other games will, but something like that, AAA titles, is hard to come by on Linux and have them work. So, and there are other games that work on Linux, but as far as the games that I personally want to play, I almost have to have a dual boot Windows. There's no way around it. So yeah, they definitely will get some. They definitely will get some good contributions from Canonical because they have the resources to do it. So I mean, yeah, I agree, Lamer. I like GNOME 3. I mean, I like running it. It's simple. It runs well, and with the extensions enabled, without them, it's terrible. But with the extensions enabled, it's good. Yep. I feel bad, Ski, for the developers that are going to lose their jobs because they're talking about over 100 developers possibly losing their jobs. So in that sense, it's a business and they have to run it like a business. And unfortunately, in business, sometimes that happens where cuts have to be made, and it's sad for the ones that have to be cut. In the long run, it'll be better for the community. It'll help the community when they start contributing to GNOME and everything. Some of the developers are going to be, carried over into other departments. Some of them are going to actually just be cut. So it's a shame that has to happen, but, I don't know. Well, Lamer, you say it's heavy, but heavy is relative to whatever hardware you have. So if you have a newer machine and it's, like I have an i7, I have 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I have, SSD hard drives. So and I don't have the latest ones. That's what I have. But I have no problem running any of the major operating systems. And, like GNOME, KDE, the ones that you think, or not you think personally, but the ones that have been noted for being heavy, Elementary OS, most ones, as long as you have the hardware to run it, it's all relative. If you don't, then obviously you're going to pick something lighter like Linux Lite or XFCE or something like that. But yeah. Well, Eric, I think that Vulkan is a great start. It is something that's really promising. The question is, will it actually come to fruition? Like, we talked about Star Citizen before, concentrating totally on Vulkan and being Linux compatible and everything, but that's a slow process and it's all about the money. And if these developers don't see the idea that they're going to make a ton of money, they're not going to spend the resources to develop the game to work with. They're not going to change everything to make it work with Linux. So it's like a snowball effect. Until the people are there, they're not going to make the games work in Linux. The people ain't going to be there until they make the games work in Linux. So it's like it's a bad situation for us. Hopefully that changes slowly, but I think it will change slowly. Wind blows. That's pretty good. Rise of the Tomb Raider. No, I actually play. I play Battlefield 1, but I also like. What do you call? The game escapes me now. Yeah. I don't remember what it's called. Yeah. Either way, there are a few games that I will play on Linux, but not many. The one I'm thinking of will play on Linux. A couple of the ones I have, the titles I have, will play on Linux, but I haven't played them in so long that I'm like not into playing them again. Shadow of Mordor, that's what I was thinking of. The game that I enjoy playing that actually runs on Linux. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good game, and it's nice that I can actually play a game that I like to play on Linux. But I don't know. Oh yeah, Payday 2. Payday 2. Really, you gave up gaming? Well, then you really weren't a hardcore gamer, right, Al? I mean, most gamers are not going to give up the game just to give up on Windows. What game is it that you're talking about? So let's see here. Let's see if we can get a list of games that are on Linux. And I don't know if they sort this by popularity. We'll say popular new releases. That's probably popular because they wanted to be popular. All right. So Rocket League is actually, I've never played it, although people that have played it tell me that it's one of those games that you think you won't like, but then you just get addicted to it. So Half-Life 2 was probably one of my favorite all-time games. Half-Life was okay, but Half-Life 2 just brought it into that whole where the graphics were updated. It was so immersive. I mean, it was just so immersive. So yeah, that is one game that works with Linux that I like. But like I said, I've played it over and over again. I don't know if I would go back and play it. Maybe sometime for nostalgic purposes I would go and play it again, but well, let's see here. There are thousands of games out there. Yes, Latte Dock is available on Ubuntu Ski. You have to install it. There's a actual install process that they posted on their GitHub page. And I think, if I'm not, there's a dev file. And there's also I think they're talking about making a PPA for it too. But originally you had, before this new release, you had to install it from the source. So, and Iski said that there's a, or who said, somebody said there's thousands of games, but I guess the problem is either there's thousands of games, but it's almost like the TV conundrum. You know, you pay for TV so much a month. I don't pay for TV because I don't have TV, but you pay for TV so much a month and you get like 850 channels that you don't watch and 3 that you do. And that's kind of the way I look at the games on Linux. Like there's thousands of games, but these are not games that I would play. Like, okay, so like Ark Survival. Is a popular game, and I know a lot of people that play it, but I'm not into it. Um, you know, Rocket League I don't have. That's not something that I purchased yet, although it's only $20. But either way, it's not something that I have. I do have CS:GO, but I don't play it often. So and like I said, there's a lot of games, and we could go through and list all of these games, but you only have a certain amount of time to play these games. So like you have a certain amount of time in your day and you're going to come home and you're only going to play a certain amount of games. So you have to basically pick which ones you're going to use and which ones you're not going to use. And the choices then narrow down really quickly. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, Lamer, I don't know. There's Steam that doesn't ask for a monthly fee, and you buy the games outright. And then there's, on the other side of the coin, there's Origin that asks, well, they don't ask, you don't have to, but they have a monthly fee service for, I think it's $4.99, and you get access to a certain amount of games, including some pretty high titles like Battlefield 4 and Mirror's Edge Catalyst and a couple of FIFA 17. So you get access to, or 16, one of them, or whatever the latest one is. You get access to them games. So $4.99 is not a big price to pay, and you can still purchase those games. And then if you ever cancel, you keep them. But it seems to me that's not really a bad deal. So I don't know. What do we got? War Thunder. Well, like I said, Al, this is the default panel for KDE, and for me, Latte Dock sometimes causes screen tearing, so I just switch back to the KDE panel. But for me, running Latte makes more sense. Shakir, what's going on, man? Well, yeah, but you notice though that's just the way of gaming anymore, Lamer, because you're right. They do make you download it when you buy a game, but you're hard pressed to buy any game nowadays that you don't have to have Origin or Steam for. I mean, you have Uplay as well, which is for the Ubisoft games, but I don't know of a game out there anymore that you can play out of the box. It was the older games, like back in the Call of Duty early days, that you could buy a game and play it off of just straight out of the box. But anymore, I think it was after Call of Duty Modern Warfare, anything after that, it was you had to have a Steam account. So I think that's just the way it is, and Origin's just following suit with everything else. So, because they want you to be on their platform. They want to be able to, if it's an EA Games game, then they want you on their platform so they can try to sell you more EA game stuff. So who's the thinker? The guy, I forget what the actual name is, but it's a painting that is a pretty popular painting, and it was funny because me and Rob, he actually had that picture in a family member's house years ago, and he saw it when we first started doing Destination Linux. So I had one laying around. I sent him, so he has one in the background of his desk as well. But and I forget the name of it. It's like Man Praying for Dinner, something like that. But it's just one of my favorite paintings. It's been in the family for a long time. So BF42. Look. Battlefield Vietnam was absolutely awesome. I mean, there was nothing better than strolling down the road in a Jeep blaring CCR, dude. I mean, there was just there was nothing better. Yep. David, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't remember um, I don't remember the name of it. There is a specific name to the painting, but this here. What is this? There's a specific name. Daily Bread Man Praying. I don't know if that's the specific name. I don't think there is a specific name to it, and I don't know if Daily Bread Man Praying is the specific name, but yeah. So, like I said, it is a popular painting. It's just one that's been in the family for a while, and I have actually another copy of it somewhere as well. So. Wait, what are you saying that it flips around? Joe, what do you mean it flips around? It flips around during the video? How's it flip around during the video? Yeah, it's getting late. I'm probably going to end this soon. We'll see. It's been 2 hours since I started. Holy mackerel. But so what do you guys think? What do you guys think about future live streams? What would you rather see? Would you rather have it be a us going through a desktop environment, or would you rather have it just be talking about news, or just open, or what do you guys think? Well, okay, Joe, with the painting and flipping, it doesn't flip during the video. It flips not because it flips, but because whatever program I'm using, it may flip it. Like Zoom, we've been using Zoom for the last couple of weeks, and that flips it automatically. And if it wasn't flipped, if it's been flipped back the right way, it's because I switched operating systems and forgot to set the settings to flip it. Otherwise, it should be flipped, because like I said, the reason that it's flipped is because when I look over to the left and I'm looking at my start menu, I want you to be able to see me turning that direction, the direction I should be turning in, not the opposite direction. So that's why it's flipped. News and open is good. Okay. All right. Just talking. We'll follow. Links to this room now. Yeah. Live is great. Makes everything. Blah, blah, blah. Well, that's what I hate to set something up and say this is going to be a settings video like I had originally intended it to go through some settings in KDE, but the problem is I have a hard time doing two things at once. So I'll be in the settings, and you guys noticed before, I'll be in the settings and then I'll start talking, and I can't concentrate on where I'm going or what I'm doing in the settings. So I just end up talking, and you guys just end up seeing a screen of settings. And, I don't know. We'll see. Where's your coffee? My coffee's empty, dude. It's like, here's my cup and it's empty. So I got to actually get some. Wait, hold on. I think this is cold. I have my, hold on, coffee. I was told I should stop that because it interrupts the train of thought of whoever's talking. Because I purposely do it while somebody's talking, just because it seems to strike me funnier when it's done that way. And maybe that's just my sad sense of humor, but I was told that I probably shouldn't do it anymore because it interrupts people's train of thought, and it does. I actually did it with Martin Wimpress, and I completely took him off of his train of thought, and I felt bad after I did it. So, oh well. So the coffee's still a little warm, just so you know. It's not hot, but it's still a little warm. Yeah. Well, like I said, I've been told that it's, rude or a little bit. It's old, I guess, is what I'm saying. It's old. It's a shtick that's old. So We'll see. I don't know. Well, let's see what's in the news here. Where is my Innu reader? I don't know if you guys use an RSS reader, but I've tried a lot of different ones, and Feedly's okay, and it has some options, but you can't beat Innu reader, man. Don't say so I don't know. There's not. I looked earlier. There's not a whole lot of news on DistroWatch. I mean, there is news. It's just all about Ubuntu. It's all about switching to GNOME and Unity and everything else. The new contribution workflow, and yeah. So I went through these earlier, and actually, Solus and me and Rob talked to we did another interview today, and we actually talked about some news, but it all had to do, basically the two top stories were Solus adding the GNOME edition ISO, and all about the Ubuntu Unity fiasco. So there wasn't a whole lot of other news besides that. Although Thunderbird came out with a new update. I don't know how many people. Do you guys use Thunderbird? Do you use a email reader, a desktop email reader, or do you use it a web-based email? Well, to be honest with you, Eric, Thursday and Fridays are mine days off. So it's difficult to, I mean, it seems to me anyway, difficult to do a live stream. Like for me, like it's 10:19 now, but it's, well, in the UK, it's what, 3:19. So nobody in the UK is going to be watching unless they're up really late. So it's kind of tough to pinpoint the best time for everybody. But Thursdays and Fridays are usually my days off. So maybe we'll have a stream every Friday night or something like that. Of course, 2 Fridays from now I work. So next Friday I'll be off. But 21st I work. So if I did it, it would be starting late, like at 10 o'clock or at 11:30 my time. So, does anybody, okay, I got another question for you. Does anybody know of a way to mute notifications, not turn them off, but to mute notifications in Chrome? Like to snooze them for an hour or to disable them temporarily, because I love having notifications. I love having them notify me when there's a comment or when there's something going on the channel or something like that, or like specific websites. But I really want, like, so when I do something like this, I don't want the notifications continually popping up. Or if I have a ton of them and I open up Chrome, I got 40 notifications popping up. So it's like, is there a way to snooze them? All right. So I've asked 2 questions now, and now I'm gone. Okay. A distro challenge. Well, I don't think we're going to do a distro challenge, only because we had issues with, I mean, there's one thing about doing a distro challenge as far as putting it on a separate drive and doing it that way. And then there's another whole thing about putting it on your main drive. That's a whole nother issue. So we'll have to work out whether or not we're going to do that. Do you have any problems with Geary, dude? Because I haven't found a better replacement for Thunderbird. I use a lot of filters in my Thunderbird, and even web-based mails have trouble with the filters because the amount of them that I have, because I have everything going into separate folders. And Thunderbird works flawlessly in that area. And I've tried Geary and I've tried Evolution, and I had problems with both. And Kmail I tried actually too. And I've had problems with all of them with filters. Like they would just take forever to filter the mail. Like, I mean, I'm talking like I have it set to check every 10 minutes, and it would probably take 9 of those minutes to filter out through all of the filters. So I just wish they would update Thunderbird with features. I actually got a message the last time I just updated Thunderbird. I think it's 52 that came out. And I got a message saying that the Lightning calendar was not compatible with this version of Thunderbird. So hopefully they fix that soon, because I have that tied in with my calendar on Gmail. So it's like, okay. So I usually prefer web-based email, but Thunderbird is nice for integrating messages for desktop notifications. Yeah, it's nice all around. Okay, I wish it was better looking. I wish it looked more like a Geary or like a modern user interface. But as far as functionality, it works. It works the best out of all of them. Yep. So you have to turn off watching. Yeah, see, that's the thing. There should have somebody. Okay, so there's a problem. Somebody invent the Chrome extension that allows you to snooze notifications for an hour. You can do it. There are. Really? Hey, look, there may be. You may be right. Let's see here. Well, that's enable and disable. Yeah, I don't want to do specific ones. Okay, maybe I scrolled through that way too fast, but Gmail snooze. All right, what else we got here? Geary was okay, but like I said, I guess if I could get away from using all the filters, I don't have to have all the filters in place. I mean, I guess I could live without them, but with them I had problems. Yes, Thunderbird does look like 1999. That's really the only issue with Thunderbird, is the fact that it looks like it's from 1999 and it has the features from 1999. So, Michael, what's going on? We'll do it live. What's happening? Michael, we need you. Look, we need you right now. We need you to create a Chrome extension that snoozes notifications for an hour. Okay? So, did you watch the interview with Martin Wimpress? Okay, because I mentioned the fact that in Ubuntu Mate Software Boutique, that you needed a grid view. And of course, he immediately told me it was already in there and that you created it, and or that you implemented it in there. So, yeah, Firefox. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah, you can install themes for Danny. You can install themes for Thunderbird, but the problem is they don't. It's they just don't apply right all over the place. A long time ago, even when in Firefox, you could theme something out, but they removed a lot of that settings to where you can theme everything. So they just don't apply right and they don't look right. And it's not just the theming of it, it's the fact that it doesn't have the features that it needs. The whole user interface needs an upgrade. You know, it needs to look more like a Geary. It needs to look more modern. But it needs to work as good as it does now, which is a hard thing to actually do. So, do you like the search result kind of thing on Thunderbird? No, the search results are not exactly the most desirable way to go about it, but you gotta live with it. You know what I mean? Like, that's all you got. You don't got much. You don't got much choice in that matter. Yes, Michael, you created the grid view, but you didn't create a button to say there's a grid view. And that's the problem. People like me that don't know it's there don't know that there's a grid view until you maximize it. And I didn't maximize it. I had no idea. I mean, I didn't even think about maximizing it. So there should be a little button to say grid view so that it will just maximize the window and you get a grid view. I think it's an awesome feature. I think it's a great idea. I mean, that's why I brought it up to Martin to begin with, because when you're installing stuff with the boutique and you've already used it and you know exactly what you want, you got to switch through tab, through tab, through tab, and scroll and scroll and scroll to get to the ones you want. I mean, you could do a search, but that's, it's better to have the grid view so you can just click, click, click. And great idea. So it was awesome to implement. It's just that people need to know it's there. Well, I have, I think, 10 email accounts in Thunderbird, which makes it really, really difficult to search and find things in the right account. It's just, it's not the best feature, but like I said, you don't really have an alternative. I mean, there is no better alternative. Well, Thunderbird has an add-on for conversations to group them together in threading, but I had turned it off, so I don't remember how well it worked. I started using it, but then I didn't. It wasn't really. I wasn't finding it useful enough to keep it installed, so I just uninstalled it. But it does have an add-on to view it with threaded conversations. Well, Ski, functionality, there's a fine line between functionality and modern and features. So, yes, there's something to be said on both sides. You can't have all bling and no functionality. That's not going to work. Obviously, you need it to be stable. But you can't have it all stable and have it be looking from, an era gone by. I mean, it's just people, you go from your phone, your Android phone to Thunderbird, you feel like you step back in time. And it shouldn't be that way. There's a fine line between, functionality and looks and modern feel. And some people have a hard time walking that, and they should definitely upgrade some of the features. They won't. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow to see that that Mozilla just says they're going to completely drop Thunderbird. I mean, they've already said that they're not going to do any feature updates; they're just going to do security updates. But I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if they came out and said we're done with Thunderbird altogether. So, because unlike it was years ago, more and more people are relying on the web access or email from the web. So you have less and less people that are actually using Thunderbird. So the market is shrinking, and I just guess they just don't see it. Look, it all comes back to money. Is it going to make us money, or is it not going to make us money? Even with Mozilla, and when you got a company like that, it's open source and everything else, but it still comes down to money. It's still, I mean, they still have to operate like a business. Otherwise, they're not going to be profitable. They're not going to get the support they need, and they're going to go under. Michael, you need to come up with a button for that. Just a little tiny button, like right next to the bulk queue, that just has a grid view icon on it. You just click it so it goes to the grid view. Because like I said, nobody knows it's there. It's a great feature, and it's hidden. So yeah, definitely should come up with that. Yeah, the add-ons out of date. Well, that's part of the problem, because you also have people who are making add-ons, and not only Thunderbird but Firefox itself. Firefox is going to this WebKit thing that they're going to in 57, I guess, and it's going to break all of the old legacy add-ons. And I mentioned about it in Destination Linux before, that some of these popular add-ons, like what's the one that it slips my mind, the add-on name of the one, that Classic Theme Restore. It is one of the most popular add-ons in the App Store. And yet it's going to stop working when it hits 57 because they're switching and they're not allowing the developers to have the access to features that they used to have. So in order for Classic Theme Restore to work, it needs access to all of this stuff that Firefox is saying, you know what, that's off limits now. So it's not going to work, and they're just going to stop development. And that's what happens with the Thunderbird. You get less and less. You used to be able to theme Firefox out completely, and you see less and less of it, where people are just using it by default. There is one or two themes out there that are nice, but most of it, it's just less and less because of the demand is less and less. So Latte Dock may just have switched me to Plasma. How about that? Latte Dock is, I'm telling you, it's a great dock. So let me put it back on, because I don't remember why we switched back to the regular panel, but I think we were checking out the window borders. So, I mean, it's just a great panel, and you can have as many instances as you want running it. You can add widgets to it. My favorite, you can center the clock. I mean, how much better can you get? Yeah, that's what I meant, Michael. Web extensions. Yeah, that's it. Correction duly noted. Well, Ski, if you don't want to use web-based mail, there isn't many choices in Linux. You basically, you have, the choices are Thunderbird, Geary, Evolution, and there's other ones like Claws Mail. But the further you go down the list, the further back you go in time as far as looks and features. So, Claws Mail is way back in time. It runs okay, but it's way back in time. Kmail is just like KDE, where it is the most customizable mail client out there, bar none. Absolutely awesome. You can make it look exactly the way you want it. And one thing I used to use Outlook Express. And I didn't use Outlook. I used Outlook Express. One of the things I loved about Outlook Express was the column width, that it was like a double width. Where in Thunderbird, it's impossible to have that double width column. There used to be add-ons, but they don't work anymore. And in Kmail, you can make it as wide as you want on that column. You can do pretty much anything you want. You could spend days in Kmail setting up things the way you want, and it's great. But when it comes down to it, I used Kmail a couple years ago. It was probably 3 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. And I had issues with it where it deleted some of my emails. And that's something that's something that you don't get over. You can't get over when you start to use a program and it messes up your files. You're probably never going to get back to that program again. You just got a bad taste in your mouth for it, and it's probably just never going to happen. So, and I'm not saying that it hasn't gotten better or they haven't fixed the issues that I had with it. But I'm just leery on trying it because my emails are important, and I surely don't want to lose any. Now, it may be different with IMAP and everything now, but I don't know. I think it's... So, basically, like I said, you have a choice of Thunderbird or Geary or Evolution if you are the top three in email clients for Linux. Can't wait till Nihilus Mail comes out for Linux, because I do want to try that. Classic Theme Restore is something people need to get over or use Pale Moon. And you're right, Michael. I used to use Classic Theme Restore when I ran Firefox. And I got to the point where I said, you know what? I don't need it to look exactly the way it used to. And I'll take it for what the default look is. But the problem is you have tons of people out there who are just normal everyday Linux users, and I'll use my dad as an example. My dad runs Firefox, and he has to have Classic Theme Restore because he can't stand... See, this is what I mean. I got another notification. Should be able to snooze those. He can't stand the way Firefox looks out of the box by default with no writing on the icons. He wants text on the icons. He wants the tabs to be not the rounded tabs. He has all these things. He colorizes the tabs so that he can have all of these like gray and the one he's on green. And those are the things that allow people like him who aren't really tech savvy to use Firefox the way they want to use it. And it's all good and well to say, well, they'll just have to get used to it. Well, that's hard for some people who've been using it the same way for years and years. No, I totally agree about the whole Chrome extension thing. I think it's ridiculous that, well, I'll give you a perfect example. In Firefox, you can have I used to have an extension just to have a button there to restart Firefox. So when I applied a theme or when I did something to it that I wanted to do, I just hit restart, the restart button, and boom, it restarted. Well, in Chrome or Chromium, you can't have that. It's not available because I guess the add-on, and they have add-ons on there, but they don't work anymore. So they pretty much took out that option, I guess, that you could just restart the browser. I guess it's a security issue that you can just restart an add-on can restart your browser. And they took that out. That doesn't stop me from using Chrome. I think it's crappy either way. So I think it's crappy that Chrome doesn't allow you to do a restart icon. And I think it's crappy that Firefox is changing so that their add-ons don't work. Because it takes functionality away from people who've been using this way for years. So you just got to weigh the pros and cons of which browser you want to use. And I weigh the pros and cons on speed, usually, in a browser. And I'm sorry, but Chrome blows away Firefox in speed, especially when you start putting add-ons on. Out of the box, Firefox is okay. Once you start adding add-ons, which, in my opinion, you can't run any browser without add-ons. You can, but I prefer not to. So Chrome just blows Firefox out of the window for speed. I don't know if Kmail's discontinued. I did see an article for a KDE-based mail application. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. But am I insulting Kmail? Kmail was good, dude, as far as customizing. Cube, that's see, you got the answer. Cube is a up and coming email client based on KDE, and it's looks like it's going to be really good. But the problem is, it takes years to perfect this stuff. So you can have an application like Cube coming out, but are you really going to switch to it and take the chance of it with your personal emails? That's tough, man. That's really tough. Incredimail for Linux. Yeah, I think Windows, you could color the tabs, but like I said, you can't. They have locked down Chrome, Chromium, and Firefox. All of them have locked down the settings. It's just like Opera. I used to use Opera years ago because it was one of the most customizable browsers. It had so many new innovations and key features that other browsers just didn't think of yet. You know, like way before anybody had password managers installed, Opera had the key lock that it would remember your passwords, and you could just click the button and it would put them in. Opera was way ahead of its time. And then things happened. They switched over their base onto Chromium, and everything just fell apart from there. People left, and it was a great browser at the time. So, yes, it's called Cube. I agree. I just couldn't think of it. It's just getting old thing, dude. Okay, turn it off again. Opera has actually, you know what? If I was going to try any browser differently than Chrome, it would probably be Vivaldi. Vivaldi, I guess, is from one of the guys that used to be in Opera, and Vivaldi has some really nice. It's still not there yet, I don't think, but it has some really nice innovative features to it that look like they're going to be promising. It gives you the same feeling that Opera gave you back then. Opera gave you this feeling of, oh my gosh, this is a great browser, and it's got some great features to it. But Vivaldi seems to give you that same feeling to it. It's customizable. It's not quite as customizable as it should be, in my opinion. You should be able to change a little bit more than what you like. They give you certain setups like color options and stuff, and you can change certain things, but you can't change everything. I think you should. But I'm used to like KDE where you can change everything. So yeah. So let me ask you a question, Michael. What do you like about the Firefox bookmarking system over Chrome's? Because to be honest with you, I mean, I know a lot of people do, and maybe that's why I'm asking the question, but I don't use bookmarks that often. I have bookmarks. I have a million of bookmarks that I have collected over the years. And let's see here. Yeah, I have a million bookmarks that I've collected over the years. And I transfer them every time I switch over to a new browser or something. I transfer them over. But I probably haven't bookmarked a site in I don't know how long because I use other services like Pocket or Google Keep or something like that. And so I don't use bookmarks enough to say, well, Firefox is far superior to Chrome's bookmark system. So I don't know exactly what you mean by what is superior to it anyway. Okay, Eric, there's nothing wrong with Epiphany, and there's nothing wrong with, a lot of these distros will come with a generic browser. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but they just don't. It's like, I never understood people using Internet Explorer on Windows because there were no add-ons, there were no customizations, there were no nothing. It was just a browser. You couldn't block ads, you couldn't do nothing. And I just couldn't understand that. And I still have that same feeling about something like Epiphany, where they don't have the features that Firefox has. It doesn't have the features that Chrome has. So yeah, if I'm just going to go look up an article, that's great. But if I'm going to do my daily web browsing on it, I'm going to need certain add-ons. Like I want to save my stuff to Google Keep. I want to save my stuff to Pocket or use NPass as my password manager. And that's something that's not available in those generic browsers. Yeah, Joe, it is still lacking a little bit. It's coming along. It's looking really good, but it's still a little bit lacking. Well, that's the other thing, Drunk. That the security issue with Opera was very, very disheartening. As far as, I mean, that's one of those things where it kind of like with time, people kind of forget that stuff. But man, somebody like me, I'm not going to forget that. I'm not going to forget that and I would never keep even if I switched to Opera as far as like using it, I would not trust my passwords on there just because of what happened. And maybe they fixed it by now, and maybe they, but it's one of those things like Kmail where if you use it and it messes you up one time, you might not ever go back. So Firefox with speed dial. I remember speed dial. Yep. Chromium, Chrome, I use a speed dial 2, it's called. So that's pretty much what I use. It's a great add-on. Unfortunately, it's not available for Firefox, which is one of the reasons why it keeps me on Chrome. Keyword shortcuts, keyword search built into each bookmark, tagging folder, tagging combo. Yeah. Let's add this to the podcast and I'll prove it. All right, when we get you on, we'll talk about it. Bookmarks in Chrome is pretty good at syncing when you log in. Well, okay, and I'm sorry, but that's where Chrome and Chromium blow Firefox out of the water as far as syncing. Is syncing everything from my passwords to my add-ons to everything. And I've used Firefox Sync in the past, and unless it's gotten extremely better in the last 6 months, Chrome, the Google sign in to Chrome, bring back all of my stuff feature is absolutely awesome. So, and that's another reason why I'm still using Chrome. And I may switch. I actually have Chromium installed. I do switch sometimes between Chromium and Chrome, but either way, the sync feature is there. Yeah, distro hop. I don't know what you're talking about, Ski. Well, okay. Ski, that's another thing where Cupzilla looks really like it's promising. It has a lot of promise to it. But again, it's not. It's going to take a long time to get up to par with Chrome and Firefox. They have been at it for years and still don't have it perfected. I can't see Cupzilla coming out of nowhere and having it perfected, and not just perfected. I mean, I'm not even talking just working. I'm talking having the add-on ability. You have to have add-ons. You have for people to on a mass basis use it. You have to have the like for me. I'll just take me as a case example. I I will use NPass as my password manager. I have to have that. I'm not going to put in my passwords, okay? So NPass is my password manager, and I have to have a browser that uses it. And if I can't find it, like if it doesn't work in Cupzilla, I ain't using it. And that's just one add-on, not let alone all the rest of the add-ons. Brave is another promising browser. It has the right idea, but again, it's kind of like it's not there yet. So, Stephanie, how are you? See you, Michael. Maxthon I used a long time ago, and I just it's just well, okay. It was okay back then, but I haven't used it lately, so I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody else who's actually used it lately. Um, but it's not. But I am not that guy. So there you go. Sometime I'm going to find out how to get the snooze notifications, but not right at the moment. NPass is great, and NPass is probably the best pass manager. Okay, it's not the best pass manager that I've ever used. It's not. There were many other good ones. Like I used to use on Windows. I used to use Sticky Password and Dashlane. Both of them were really good. I used to use LastPass, but after their security breach, I don't. I just went away from them. Okay, because that's not cool at all. Um, so Dashlane and Sticky Password, which I used to call Sticky Bandit, was were two awesome password managers, but they don't work. They don't work in Linux, so that's not going to happen. NPass is probably the best in Linux out there. I mean, there's a lot of people that use KeePass and KeePass X, and there's a couple different ones that have been around for a while, but NPass has it over everybody with the fact that I can sync it to my Google Drive. I can sync it to my hard drive if I don't want it online at all. It has the browser extension the button that automatically inputs the password for me. It recognizes the site that it's on. All of these features go into making the password manager great, and NPass is awesome. Chrome fan. Well, I don't know. I've never really been a Chrome fan. Um, I've been using it. Basically, I switched from Firefox to Chromium, and I was running Firefox for the longest time, and I switched over to Chromium because of speed and just trying it out, seeing how it was going to work, and I ended up liking it and sticking with it. So I used Chromium for the longest time. It's only been recently in the last maybe 2 months that I started using Chrome because I figured, you know what? There were certain websites that didn't work properly with Chromium that would work in Chrome. For whatever reason, I don't know. Um, but so I said, you know what? If I'm using Chromium, I might as well get the added features that Chrome has. So that's why I started using Chrome, and I'm not exactly a fan. I'm just using it because that's what works for me right at the moment. Netscape. Oh my gosh, you're talking a long time ago. KeyPass has security issues. It does, but KeyPass is okay for people. Like, it may have security issues, but if it's just on your local machine and you just have and nobody's, you're not worried about somebody breaking in your house and getting your passwords, and you're just worried about online security, KeyPass is okay. But in order to make it functional and give you ease of use and work with it, you need to install the XDO tool so that it actually inputs stuff into your browser, and that doesn't exactly relate, or doesn't actually go well with good security, where it just automatically just starts typing passwords in. So it has add-ons, but then you take a risk of actually installing an add-on where it communicates with KeyPass and Firefox or whatever, but you take the chance of maybe there's a backdoor in that add-on, so you may not want to. You may not want to use. I don't want to use it. I'd much rather use NPass. Well, yeah, but Netscape is from long days ago, man. I switched to Chrome for the ease of watching Netflix without extensions and stuff. It may just be as simple as use Firefox. But, well, Firefox just came out. I think that was one of the newest features of Firefox, that you could, out of the box, watch Netflix. That was one of the, I don't know if it was in this last 52 or what, but it was one of the latest features that they came out with, that you can now watch Netflix with it. So if you want to switch back, you can. But Chrome, they're the same. They're interchangeable to me. I know they're not interchangeable, but they're interchangeable to me in my mind. So it works the way I want it to. Okay, it works better the way I want it to than Firefox. It's not perfect. I don't like the fact that you can't customize it the way you want to. To be honest with you, when I started using it, these icons are so stinking small. I'd much rather have a larger icon set, but you can't change that. So you have to weigh the options. You got to take both Firefox, Chrome, and say, you know what, this is bad about this, and that's good about this, is bad and good about this. Which one is going to win out on top, and then just pick one. Yes, I'm not on a VPN right now at the moment, but I do use private internet access as a VPN, and I've been using that for a couple years. To be honest with you, I don't even know why I'm not on it right at the moment. But yeah, I do use private internet access. It doesn't have a GUI program for Arch. You have to do it manually. So in here there is all kinds of servers that I have that I've done manually. But on Ubuntu, it does have a GUI program that you can install. So it has other features like changing your encryption and raising your encryption to 4096, whatever you want to put it at. And it also has a internet kill switch, so that if the VPN disconnects, it will kill your internet switch. It will kill all of your internet, so that you won't have a situation where you think you're covered by the VPN, but you're not. So the GUI program has a lot of nice features to it, but unfortunately it's not available in Arch right at the moment, so I'm not running it. But I would normally be on the manual VPN. So I don't know. Do you guys run VPNs? You run it from your router. See, I would love to install, I would love to not install it, but I would love to configure it to be right out of the router. I just haven't had the time lately to sit down and configure it that way. So it seems like, to me, the best option. That way you don't have to worry about it. You know that it's always there. But how does that work as far as switching servers? So when you configure it to your router, do you have to manually go into like the 192 page and switch the server somehow, or how's that work? Well, no, Ski, I don't think that the VPN is not a fix all for the security issues. Let's face it. If entities like the CIA, the FBI, if they want your information, they got it. I don't care what you're using. I don't care what VPN you're using. I don't care what you do. They have it. If they want it, they can get it. It's just a layer of security that isn't. It's added there so that it's makes it just that much harder for them to track you, and not just for them, like the CIA, but like for your ISP. So your ISP can sell your information now. So does the ISP have a backdoor circumventing a VPN? I don't know. Maybe they do, but it's just an added layer of security to make it that much harder for them to do it. Maybe they can get by it, but it's the same way with Tor. Tor is not exactly the ultimate in browsing security, but it would be one more layer if you wanted to go that route to make it that much harder. So if you're using Tor in combination with a VPN, it just, like I said, it's just layers of security. Like it's like your front door. Okay, you lock the front door when you go to bed at night. Okay, but if somebody really wants in that bad, they're going to get in. But you still lock the door because it's one layer of security that is there to combat the normal everyday issues. So, yeah, it's not a fix-all, but it definitely is something that I think is important now. The ZDNet article on the whole CIA thing. I don't know if I read that one or not. I did read many articles about it, but like I said, if they want your info, they're going to get your info. Yep, exactly. If you're important enough for the government, they'll get you no matter what you use, and that's just simply the way it is. I mean, it's like we use our phones. I mean, I use my phone, and I guarantee you, they know exactly where I am every day. I mean, Google itself knows exactly where I am every day. It's got a history of all the locations I've been at. And yeah, you can circumvent that in certain ways too. You could, install custom ROMs and do F-Droid and not have any Google service. But that's all up to the individual person. But what I'm saying is they're going to, one way or another, they're going to track you. One way or another, they're going to get your info if they want it. There's no way around it. It's not going to happen. Well, William, you talk about being locked out, and there are a couple servers that I like. If I go on to private internet access, and if I go on to their their East server or the Florida server, there are times where I won't be able to get on a website, or I'll receive tons of CAPTCHA items when I go to because it's on a server that I guess somebody may have been spamming or got blocked. It got blocked somehow. So, yeah, there are issues with certain ones being blocked, but for the most part, I just switch the server, go to the website again, and it goes through. So sometimes that'll be an issue, but there's a workaround for it. There's only a few that have good GUIs for Linux. Most of them, 90 to 95% of the VPNs out there don't have a Linux client. They all rely on command line or OpenVPN through your network manager. So ExpressVPN is a really good one, but it has a start and stop command line, and you have to have the terminal open in order for it to run. So you open the terminal, you start the VPN, and then you have to leave that open in order for it to run. There's only a few that actually have GUIs, and that is private internet access. AirVPN has a nice GUI. I think it's a Qt-based GUI. It's really nice, but one of the problems with that was you had to leave it open. It didn't have a minimize to tray. PIA does have a minimize to tray, so like it would always be an open application in your and that drove me nuts. I think there's one more that has VPN Unlimited has a GUI, but their servers were really slow. And the other thing you got to look out for is what they log and what they don't log. Now, I know that's all subjective because everybody, they have logs of everything, but you basically got to go with you got to basically decide who you trust and what you trust. And over the years, I have found PIA has reacted to situations in the right way. So that's what I trust. If you're on Comcast, the only way you can obfuscate from them is to set up your own router. So, David, I'm on Comcast. So, what you're saying is, even with a VPN, they can still get the info? No, nobody's going to want my information, dude. There's nothing important in it, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to hide it either. I mean, and I don't mean hide it. There's a difference between me being okay with, say, like Google or YouTube having some of my information because I'm putting myself out there. But just because I'm not doing anything wrong behind the scenes doesn't mean I want everybody to know my business either. So, yeah. To be honest with you, I don't know how safe Android is without the Google services. I know there's a lot of people, not a lot of people, there's people in the Linux world, quite a few people in the Linux circles that run it without Android apps. And Phelan from Late Night Linux is one of those guys that doesn't want anything to do with Google. And as soon as he gets a phone, he wipes it, puts a custom ROM on it, and he does all it with F-Droid and does apps and stuff like that. So, but I guess with anything, you have to watch how these apps were created, who they're created by, what they do, and you basically have to rely on what you trust. So I don't know I can't speak for how safe they are. And again, it comes down to who you're okay with having the information. So it's just like cloud backup. So cloud backup, I was a couple months ago, I was deciding which one to go with, and there were other services, and I actually liked a service called pCloud, and they're different in the fact that they have your files online, I mean, on their servers, and you basically point to your folders, and you can access them online, but they're not really taking up space on your drive, which is pretty appealing when you're limited on hard drive space and everything else. But when it comes down to it, the reason that I went and I actually did Google Drive, because it depends on who you're comfortable with having your information. Now, I don't store anything personal on the Google Drive, like passwords or anything, but for files like I save for the computer and stuff like that, I put on Google Drive because it all comes down to security. You see all these security breaches on certain Dropbox got hacked into, this service got hacked into, and you never see Google's services getting hacked into. Nobody's ever, well, okay, I won't say nobody's ever, but you don't see it every day where, somebody hacked into somebody's G drive and took all their info and, so that's the reason why I went with Google Drive is they're one of the big guys in the market, and they have the ability to protect their system. So, Colin, what's going on, man? I didn't know I was doing live either, dude. It was a spur of the moment thing, and I just decided to do it. And it's really no format, dude. It's just us talking. So, you got anything to say? Say it, brother. Well, and that's exactly the point. I'll run into a lot of people that will say, "Well, I got nothing to hide, so I don't care if they see my data." Well, you know what? I got nothing to hide either. I'm not doing anything illegal, but I don't need them to see my data either. They don't have any right to see my data. Now, if I use their services, then I guess they do have the right to see my data. But overall, I have a right to expect a certain amount of privacy depending on what services I use. So if I don't want to use Google, I don't want Google knowing about me. I do use Google, so they have to know a certain information about me, and I realize that, and I accept that part of it. So, good night, man. I could add an extra layer of security by encrypting the files. Yes, I could, but way back, and maybe this is just me being finicky or whatever, but way back, we on Windows, I used to use a program called AxeCrypt, and I encrypted files because I was trying it out and everything. And I don't know exactly how encryption works in Linux as far as like I've never actually tried to encrypt files or and upload them and download them and see how it works. But in AxeCrypt, you would encrypt them. You'd use the program to encrypt them, and you would need the password for it, and you needed the program installed to de-encrypt them. So, well, long story short, I encrypted programs, and I had reformatted a few times, and lo and behold, I couldn't remember what password I used, and those files were gone because there was no way to. I had no. I tried a million times to remember the password, and it was like they were gone because I couldn't. So I'm kind of leery about encrypting files. Not that I would forget the password now, but it's just, like I said before, when you get that bad taste in your mouth, when you when you do it one time and it gets messed up, you're kind of leery about doing it again. So I have a laptop, and when I install any version of Linux, my speakers sound like a tin can. um, any version of Linux, huh? Well, I know that for me, like, and one of the reasons I don't like the KDE sound settings because I have so many outputs and inputs to worry about. But like for my speakers, um, it gives me the option to change it inside to whatever output they are. And right now it's a 5.1 output. So I don't know what version of Linux you're using or what desktop environment you're using, but that may be an option, is to go in and instead of putting it on input, just a regular input output analog signal, you may have an option to do like a stereo output. Yeah, well, I think Google knows much about more about us than we think we know about ourselves, Colin. Because I was looking at the Google activity the other day. Actually, somebody was mentioning, in a news article about Google activity, and you could check. And so I checked on my activity, and I'm looking, and it's just things that you're not even thinking of. Like I carry my phone with me, and it gave me a timeline of exactly where I was, every location I was at, every place that I stopped. It knew exactly what was there, the local convenience store that I was at, the gas station that I stopped at, my work, my home, and it knew exactly what time I did this and what I searched for. What I searched for on my phone compared to what I searched for at home. I mean, it knew just about everything. And I'm looking at this, and I'm scrolling down. And I'm looking at, oh my gosh, like they know, like when it's just a search engine and you're inputting information, you're not thinking about everything being logged and put together. But when you sit down and you think about everything being put together and what's going on with it, wow. I mean, wow. They can put a profile together with you, and you combine that with everything else they have from Android to now everybody's buying the Google Hello and the Amazon Echo and all this stuff and the smart TVs, and oh my gosh, like they will have a log a mile long, and they will know you better than you know yourself, I think, at some point. So the new KDE version, yeah. So this is the new KDE version. I'm running Antergos 5.9.4 KDE Plasma. So you should be able to go into the configuration options and see. I don't know, like some of them don't give you, like, okay, so I have a HyperX headset that's 7.1 audio, but it's hardware software based audio from the USB connector. So it only gives it a analog or digital output. It doesn't give you a surround sound or anything like that. Although it should, but it doesn't. But the speakers, the Logitech speakers, actually give you the surround sound output. So maybe that's an option for you. I don't know. How to snooze Google notifications. All right. Let's go look. Log in. You can select multiple reminders. Turn off notifications. Snooze emails and reminders later. No, I don't see anything, dude, for Chrome. I mean, you can do it for specifics like Google Hangouts and stuff, but I'm talking like in the browser itself, and I don't see nothing for that. You can do it on Hangouts, but I don't know, man. Maybe you can email me the link that you're specifically talking about. Yeah, you can email it there. You want a summary? I can't imagine the processing power that Google needs to just calculate all that information. I mean, can you imagine the servers that they have and the amount of servers that they have and the processing power that they have with all that information? I mean, we're talking everybody that uses a smartphone, everybody that uses Google in the web browser, everybody that has any kind of Google account. And it's not just Google, it's Facebook, it's all of these companies and Amazon. I mean, can you imagine if they all got together, what information they would have on everybody? It's mind-blowing of how much information they would have on you. All right, it's right at the top. Google Calendar. How do I snooze my Google Calendar reminders? Turn off notifications. What does it mean? Snooze? I don't know, man. You have to send me the direct link. I'm missing it somehow. It's all good. Quantum computing. Yeah, well, we're getting to the point now where I just read an article the other day where they're talking about the fact that in 20 years that they're not even going to, we're going to not even have smartphones, that they're going to go by the wayside for basically what they're talking about is augmented reality, where they're going to, the idea is to implant this stuff onto a layer in your brain so that they can change what you see. They can put ads in your brain if they want to. If you go to the store, your grocery list can appear in your eye without nothing else. That's what they're talking about right now. It's like scary. And you think, well, how are they going to do that? And yeah, it may be a long ways away. I don't know about long, because time starts to move faster as you get older. So I don't know if it's that long away, but I mean, we're talking, their estimate is 20 years. And that is not exactly a long time. So, man, I don't know. All right, so I don't know. I guess I'm probably going to end this here. Hold on. As for VPN and Comcast in Arch Linux opens a terminal, runs streams by the Google Web URL, checks the difference, and run. David, don't ever copy and paste a command. I'm not going to copy and paste it because I'm going to have to enter. I'm going to have to get the Google Web URL. All right, I'll do that one. Let me copy and paste that for later. Oh, I don't want to do that. It's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. All right, I'll save that for later and look at. All right, I'll do that, David, and I'll see what comes up with it. Yeah, J-Mal, everybody, I'm gonna jump off, and I appreciate everybody stopping by. I didn't expect as many people stop by as they did. So hopefully everybody enjoyed it. And like I said, maybe I'll make an announcement on the YouTube channel. Maybe we'll start doing a Friday night live thing where it's just an open forum where we talk about whatever we want to talk about. So everybody have a great night.